right, my friend, welcome back to Confessions of a Closer, the interview series where I pull back the curtain with other sales reps and entrepreneurs who are consistently closing over 100 grand a month to share with you the tips, tools, and tactics that you can use right away to close way more sales and change more lives in the process. So, super excited for today's guest, Mr. Mario. He has actually been someone that's interviewed me a few times, and I'm stoked to flip the script back on him because this guy is an absolute stud. And I don't want to over explain him. I want to give him a quick chance. Mario, 30-second overview. Who are you? Who do you help?
So right now I'm a closer for a 5-figure offer that we're building out to help people, build their funnels and their offers for their high ticket programs. I've been in high ticket sales for 9 years now. Sold anything from financial services, legal services, multi-million dollar contracts, and have personally done a little over 10 million in sales myself over that time. And yeah, I'm just here to provide any value I can.
Yep. He's humble and he's closed a lot of sales. So, dude, I think the first question that I want to have for you just out up in the public and in the open, because we have a similar trajectory in and of ourselves where we both have run businesses that were very profitable and doing well, but actually chose to put those on the back burner and myself walk completely away from to close full time. And from the outside, that can kind of look crazy. Like, why would you step down from being the owner to just closing deals? So obviously I have my own story, but Mario, why did you do it?
For me, man, it was I was getting so tied up in delivery and marketing and managing clients and managing other people and all this stuff. And it just it took me away from what I really enjoyed, which was helping people have transformations in a short amount of time. And that's really what we get to do on sales calls, is just watch somebody go from a place of disempowerment and fear and lack of belief and all these negative emotions to a place where they feel like they can do something big and they're willing to commit to it. And it's just beautiful to watch that happen, day in, day out. And that's why I love sales.
You get to be that catalyst, right? Like the last point in this person's experience of the life that they don't want, to where it's all right. You got two paths from here. You can continue the same way things have been, or there is a light at the end of the tunnel and I'll walk with you. Which would you prefer?
Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful, man. My favorite is when they thank me or start crying at the end of the call. I'm like, I've had that happen a few times, and it's like, you got to just kind of be there with them. And those are the calls I remember the most usually.
I know. It cracks me up too when months later they're like, I don't know if you remember our first call. I'm like, it's burned into my brain. Of course I do. I care enough to remember. So, bro, let's because we've done some epic long form content. And if you want to see some of the other interviews that we've done, you can go back to my channel. There's how to close high ticket offers, high ticket, 5-figure offers. There's some really good value bombs. But I think some of the stuff that we didn't talk about on those interviews that would be fun to jam on today would be some of the biggest myths or mistakes that sales reps and entrepreneurs make before they really learn the ropes of sales. So what are some of the biggest things that you personally see in your day-to-day where people are just shooting themselves in the foot, missing sales that they should be closing?
I think, as far as what I've seen, it's really, there's so many. So I guess I'll just start off with such a deep attachment to getting a sale that you forget to connect with the other person, and I think this happens a lot when people are tight on money, when they're not hitting their quota for the month, when they have a script and somebody micromanaging them on following it, they stop being like an active participant in the process, and they're just like a robot, just reciting things and trying to get the yes and pushing. And that can work. Like, you can close people doing that, but it leaves you as a salesperson feeling kind of icky, like you can't sleep at night. And I've seen people that get closed like that refund. I've seen them leave programs. I've seen them, complain nonstop once they're in. So like that, I would say that's like the first thing that comes to mind, is really just a heavy attachment to yes, that you forget about the other person. You're just trying to get them to give you money.
So I love that you bring that up, because we could jam on that all day. Like, in my experience, in that same vein, like when you let sales go from being a people game and it becomes just a numbers game, That's exhausting. It's not just exhausting, but it's also really ineffective and inefficient too. Because you got to be on way more calls if you're going for just quantity over quality. And I talked about this in a recent video. I was like, yo, if it was just the perfect words to say, AI exists. We could just program a robot to read scripts to people all day. But there's a reason that that salesmen have not been replaced by robots yet. And I don't see that ever happening in the future because the human element is the most enrolling part.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the other thing that I wanted to talk about as well was making the conversation on the call about you. And I say this because it's happened to me, especially when I feel like I'm on a conversation with somebody who's much more successful than me or way ahead of me financially or in some aspect of their life. I see salespeople go into like this ego stroking thing where they talk about how much they know on the call instead of just asking questions and letting the other person talk about themselves. I've done this. I did this recently. I had one of my sales coaches review a call of mine where I literally did this for 20 minutes on the call. And he's like, dude, what are you doing? He's like, you're not letting the guy talk.
Yeah, it's funny. Drop a comment below if you've ever fallen into going to the mode of like justification or like, here's why you should listen to me on your sales calls. Because I guarantee, and we're not going to judge you for it because you didn't know better until now. But if you do that going forward, I'm going to judge you real hard because these calls are not about you. It's about them. Right. And the most influential thing that you can do is allow someone else to influence themselves. You can't do that if you never shut up.
Yeah. The fastest closes I've ever had are where they did literally 80% of the talking. I just asked the question and they would talk and I'd be like, well, why is that? Or what do you mean by that? Or how do you see that affecting you? And like just leading them on. And I've done like my last 3 closes have been all pay in fulls, all in under 30 minutes. And it was just like, this is no brainer.
This is a 5-figure offer, by the way, for anyone that's curious. So,
we're
not talking like, hey, $50. Yeah, fuck it. Why not? Come on in.
Right.
This is a legit sales conversation. So 30 minutes, you're past 3, you said?
Yeah, the last 3. Pay in fulls.
Out of curiosity then on those calls, because you can usually tell there's like 1 or 2 questions. I mean, there's 7 questions, of course. You got to ask no matter what on every call to create sales opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But you can usually see that 1 or 2 that really hits home for people on those last few calls. What question or questions could you tell like really hit home for them and shifted their way of thinking?
Really, it was like for me, it's been the kind of like in summary, the why now question. So asking that in different ways because they're on the call at that time for a reason. People don't just book calls because they're like, I got some empty time in my calendar. Let's talk to a sales guy for an hour. Like nobody does that. So there's something they're trying to solve. And the quicker I can get to that answer, and usually I'll sometimes start the call with that is like, we got a lot to go over here, but before I get into our whole spiel of what we can do and how we can help you and all that stuff, why are we talking today? What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And then they'll tell me, I'm like, well, so why are you looking to solve that now? Or if they're doing great, I'm like, why do you want to accelerate your success now?
Yeah. Well, and it sounds like things are going fairly well for you at this point. I guess, why even consider changing what you're doing?
Right. Yeah. And they'll justify why they came on now. Like they'll defend their reasons,
Mm-hmm.
And I love that like the why question, if you use it in the right way, they'll go from defending why they shouldn't to defending why they should. It's a great little flip that you do.
Yeah. And we'll talk a little bit about why and when it makes sense to use. But first, we got to shout out our sponsor today's video, the like button. So do us a quick favor, just go right down below, smash the like button. It means a ton to us because it really helps us out in the YouTube algorithm and helps keep us keeping on this content train for you. So if you appreciate that, just thank our sponsor, the like button, by giving it a quick tap, turn it blue. So Mario, I was clued in for the first time to the power of why, reading Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference. Was it the same thing for you?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Super powerful.
You want to do the explanation on this one then as to like when it makes sense to use why and how effective it really is?
Yeah, I mean, the question why is really, whenever it's asked, it puts people in a kind of defensive mode where they feel like they need to justify their reasons. And
Mm-hmm.
if you ask somebody like the examples he uses are like, why'd you wear red shoes today? Or why are you wearing that shirt? People get defensive. They're like, well, I like this shirt, or those are my favorite shoes. Like, why are you asking me about this?
Yeah.
But if you ask them instead, like, there's all these other great companies out there that are doing amazing things, helping businesses just like yours that you could have gone to. Why did you decide to talk to us?
Mm.
Then all of a sudden they're justifying why they booked the call with you, and they're going to give you all the reasons. Well, I've been following you guys for a long time, and I love the content that that he or her puts out, and I've just wanted to see how I can work with you, and I believe in what you guys do. Like,
Mm-hmm.
great, like, then why now? I mean, since you've been following us for all this time, what's happened recently that's made you reach out? And then
Mm.
they keep giving you reasons, and eventually, like, you don't have to ever close people when they close themselves on why they want to do it and why you know
Amen. Yeah, there's obviously 3 why questions that you have to ask every time on a sales call. And if you're not, you're letting sales fall through the cracks. So to uncover what all of them are, go right down below in the description, download the 7 questions guide. It's totally free. And it's something that I've seen thousands of sales reps use to close way more deals real quick without having to rely on the training wheels of a script. But Mario, I don't know if I've shared this with you. My favorite place to make sure there is always a why is right in between the presentation and the pitch. After I've asked something to the tune of, okay, so any questions for me about the process specifically, or does it feel like the perfect fit for you? And when most sales reps get a yes, they're like, sweet, all right, what's your card number? And then they just go right into collecting payment. But I actually learned this. I picked this up for the first time watching a timeshare salesman who was a shark. He was a savage. Close someone that really was not in the market for timeshares. And so when she said, um, yeah, I think I might do it. Immediately, stone cold, he just goes, why? And all of a sudden, she went from, I think I might, to justifying why she was going to. He didn't say, oh, you made such a great choice. You're going to absolutely love it. Come with me and we'll sign all the paperwork. He goes, why? And so with just that simple little question, she was tied down like that. Bought something she didn't even need. Now, am I suggesting that you use these ninja tactics to close people into programs that they shouldn't be in? Absolutely not. But that's not me to pass judgment. Karma will get you. However, for the people that really do need your product or services, tying them down with the why at this crucial moment will help to mitigate refunds and will also help them to really own their commitment. So I'll just ask, why? Well, why is it a yes for you? And in addition, then I get the best market research from that question too. Because when they tell me all the reasons why it's a perfect fit for them, what do? I just hop on Facebook and make another post, and here comes some more leads because it speaks to them and what they care about, not what I'm pretending, to know that they're caring about.
Right. Yeah, it's powerful, man. And there's why questions too that sometimes that people sometimes ask that I think can cost them the sale. And because you got to be able to gauge like where they are in the process, how bought in they are emotionally. But I hear people sometimes say, like, why do you think you're a good fit for this? And that can work real well at the right time, but others ask it early on, and it's just like, oh, you're doing a sales thing, where like I have to justify myself to you now as somebody who's like interested in the program. So it's like there,
Dan Locke style. So why should we allow you to come work with us?
Why do you feel like you'd be a good fit for this program?
Have you ever listened to one of their reps on a call?
I have. Yeah, I've watched the YouTube videos and stuff.
Dude, it's brutal. It's like I don't know. I would never buy if someone treated me the way that that sales are taught there, and that's actually in a large part why I think the term closer has such a negative connotation these days. It's from these sleazy gurus, pushing these high pressure sales tactics. But I really believe in the pure form of closer, helping good people to close the door on their past ways of thinking so that they can actually embrace this new possibility that life has to offer. Because in order for you to open the next door, you got to close the one behind you. Otherwise, you move in with regret. So you're half in and half out. And if you're anything less than 100% committed to what you want, you're not going to get it. Plain and simple. So
that's it, man.
You're someone that lives and breathes closer in the right way. So
thank you.
Yeah, I don't want to assume anything. I know your sales process pretty well just because we've been so close, but what are some of the biggest lessons that you've picked up throughout your sales career that you wish you would have known earlier?
That's a good question. So when I first started in sales, it was actually selling vacuums door to door.
Oh, that's right. Were they the Kirby's where you'd like go throw dirt on someone's carpet and be like, oh, let me clean that up for you, ma'am. And by the way.
Yep. Yeah, it was the Kirby's, man. And like back then I was taught like those super pushy sales tactics, but I never used them. Like if I was being monitored or watched, like my boss would come with me, then I'd try to like weave my way around them. But early on, thankfully I learned this early on, it was just about getting reps in. And I feel like a lot of salespeople feel like the only time they can really practice is when they're on the call, and they end up burning through a bunch of calls.
I see where you're going with it. This is huge. I don't talk about this enough, actually. Keep going.
So what I did to get really good at my pitch, which was a 2-hour long presentation in somebody's house where they could kick you out at any moment or say you're trespassing and you got to leave. I would pitch to my windshield every day. At least the first 15 minutes of my presentation, I would pitch it to my windshield on the way to appointments. And thankfully, my boss was an a-hole, so he would send me to appointments that were like 2 or 3 hours apart from each other on opposite sides of the city.
Oh my God!
And I had plenty of time to practice. He'd take all the good deals, of course. Yeah, it was
throwing the scraps to Mario.
It was a real sleazy sales room, man. Like it was bad, but I learned the power of repetition to the point where my script was no longer a script. It was just an innate part of me that I could kind of plug myself into any point in it. And if I ever fell off track, I could go right back in wherever I left off, and I knew where I was. It was just like I internalized the whole thing.
Yeah, you just knew it front to back.
Yeah, I weaved my personality into it. I tactically added in laughs, or jokes.
Oh, good side note. Neuroscience has actually recently proven that you are up to 31% smarter when you're in a good mood. So what Mario's talking about, strategically placed laughs, that's that can be really important and effective in a sales process.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially if you're in somebody's house, they want to feel comfortable with you there. So that was like a good way to like break the ice. I'd throw in jokes like every 3 or 5 minutes.
Do you remember any of them? Like the ones that would always hit?
No, man, I don't. It was so long ago. But like it was a great thing that I learned early on that helped me a lot later on in my career. I also learned the power, and this was by accident. I learned the power of priming before each presentation. So I would, when I would see on my nav that I was like 10 to 5 minutes away from like where I was going, I would put on like a few songs that I knew were going to get me in the best mood possible. And I would just jam out, windows open, screaming at the top of my lungs, just like singing like hard. And by the time I got there, I was so pumped up, like I was ready to go. I was jazzed.
That's hilarious.
It wasn't like enthusiastic as hell. You talked about like, don't be enthusiastic as hell because that could kill the sales. It wasn't that. It was more of like a swagger. Like I would come in with like a confidence that was like just above everybody else there.
Dude, I want to know what some of the songs on that playlist were, because if I need a song like that, well, mine is Can't Be Touched by Roy Jones Jr. And I shit you not, I'll put on the 3-hour mix just so I don't have to hit replay on the like 2-minute 50-second song.
My God, that's so funny.
I love that song. Like, all right,
that was my song during wrestling. That was what I listened to during wrestling to get myself jazzed up. You're gonna laugh. I would put on Style by Taylor Swift.
No kidding.
Yep. Yep. It's got this little like rhythm, this little guitar riff that's like so perfect. And it's got this beat. I was just in a rhythm when I listened to it.
Okay, if you're gonna confess that, then I have to throw out the one song that I'm not proud of that actually hypes me up. And it sounds so funny, but it is Ariana Grande's Bloodline.
Oh shit, I haven't heard it.
Dude, okay, well, it slaps. The backing track is dope. I couldn't care less about what she's saying, but just the background sounds like Mike Tyson walking into the ring. It's like mismatched for who she is. I don't like any other songs or any of the other songs from her, but that one, dude, it slaps. It's really good.
Using music, or like some people use like smells, like scents, like they got their little boomsticks.
Oh yeah. I've got
like
one down there.
All that stuff to get you in the right mood and the right mindset to like communicate, which is really what you're doing on the sales calls. You're just communicating. It's effective communication.
Yeah. And
like you got to do it.
I did a video on this, on finding your flow state and actually anchoring it to your sense of smell so that you can kind of implement some of the stuff that Mario and I are talking about. But, obviously I also did the video on why being enthusiastic as hell, as Jordan Belfort would push you to do, will sabotage your sales. So to be super clear, the way that I use smell is actually anchoring in a very calm, grounded, abundant place, not excited or energetic. And I think a lot of sales reps that like listen to pump up music and stuff before calls, they're misinterpreting what it's doing for them. I think actually, if you're someone that has any degree of call anxiety, that getting out this energy by jumping around or whatever to your favorite song will help you ground yourself and be more present. It's kind of like that swagger you were talking about. Not getting pumped up necessarily, but like getting that energy out. Yeah.
So
you're not showing up like, over caffeinated, and I think you should really do this, because now you just sound nervous. And to the prospect, they don't know that you're just anxious about the sales process. They might think that he's nervous because he's going to scam me into something I don't need. So you got to be really aware of the buying experience you're creating for your customers. Ooh, that's a good topic. This is something I've thought about a lot lately that wasn't as conscious as unconscious, just because I've had really good coaches. This idea of not selling, but actually creating a buying experience for your customer. Because people hate to feel like they're being sold to, right? But everybody loves to buy shit. I do. Everybody else does, except for maybe the random one or two people that are true minimalists and have nothing. We all like to buy stuff. So what are your thoughts on creating a buying experience versus selling?
You know what, man? There's a quote around this, and I don't know if you told it to me or somebody said it to me, but it was, everybody hates being sold, but people love shopping with their friends.
Ooh.
And it's just like, it's kind of like that guidance. I recently went to Nordstrom, and this kind of was like the perfect example of it. I was so confused. They could tell I was so confused when I entered the store, because I was looking for a Valentine's Day present.
We're not in Kansas anymore.
Right. And I was just like, what do I do? And some lady just like walked up to me and she's like, can I help you with something? And I was like, I have a Valentine's Day. I need a present. Like, it's a few days away. They're like, oh, okay, well, tell me about your girl. And she like goes into this diagnosis of like, what is she like? What does she like? How old is she? All this stuff. And by the end, they're like, all right, let me take you over here. And like, she shows me these perfumes. She's like, let's try some out, see which one you like, because you're going to be the one really smelling it. I was like, okay. And like, it was this whole experience where I was like, I was happy to pay $200 something for the perfume. And I like came out, I was like, I feel like I was, and now I'm talking about it, Get
me her number. There are so few good sales reps on the floor of department stores these days. I mean, because you frankly are not getting compensated what you're worth if you can take someone through an experience like that.
Yeah, I think that company though, I rarely ever go in there, but like that company, they've talked about how they're so focused on having, like, taking care of their customers, whether they buy anything in the store or not. Like the second I purchased it, she was like, if you go upstairs, they'll wrap it up for you free in a bow, like with everything. Like they'll wrapping paper bow it. She's like, here's some extra samples for you in case she wants to come back and try any other scents. Plus, you can just use these as well. And like gave me like these little 1 ounce samples, which is like a ton of perfume that they would sell for like $80, and she just gave them to me for free. She's like,
there we go.
I was just like, this is amazing.
Did you hire her?
No, she was selling perfume.
Yeah, dude.
But
Okay,
yeah,
for you watching at home, if you are going above and beyond like that right now, and you're not making at least six figures, give me a buzz. I'll put you in
right,
a position where you're making a hell of a lot more, because if you're willing to go above and beyond like that and to properly diagnose before prescribing your solution versus just sitting back and talking about all the shiny shit you have in your store, I can make you a lot more money. I guarantee
right,
it.
right. Like she could have gone straight to, oh, well, we have these wonderful purses over here that are on sale, and we have some things over there. But like, I would have just been like, I'm even more confused because I
Mm-hmm.
came here with no idea and I have too many. Instead, she was like, let's talk about what it, who she is, what your problem is specifically,
Yeah.
and if this is going to be the right thing for you, and it made it such an easy experience where I was like, the second I got it, she's like, all right, I can check you out right here. Boom, boom, done, paid, take it up there, boxed it up, left. I felt happy. That was like an experience where I paid a lot of money for something that I don't even like. I don't value perfumes. You know what I mean? It's not something I care
Yeah.
about.
I bet that was a good Valentine's Day, though. Did you get the look? Did you get the good look on the face? Like, oh,
We got the good look.
yes.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. Oh, I love it. Well, dude, there's like infinite things that you and I could dive into just because we see sales in very much the same vein. What uh, what other advice though? Because I want to close the loop on this one. What other advice would you give to the newer sales rep, the newer entrepreneur who's maybe not got a whole lot of reps in yet? They're still a little shaky. If you could tell your former self or these new reps that are coming up in the space, just one or two things, what do you think would make a difference for them?
I think honestly, it's just having authentic communication. Um, Meaning like if you feel like mechanical with the script, like it feels like robotic, ditch the script. Figure out what the end result is that you want to get to, and the end result really on all these calls is a decision. It's not yes, it's not a no, it's a decision. Yes or
Mm,
no, either one. Um,
I like
and
that point. Yeah.
that's all you want. You want to close loops. You don't want to leave anything open. Talk to my wife, think about it. All these objections. This is people keeping the loop open, which creates anxiety for you and anxiety for them because now they have a problem that's not solved, and
Yeah.
you have, a prospect that you haven't like put into their proper bucket. They're just floating in space now, and you're like, all right, how many times do I follow up? Am I bothering this person? It builds a lot of terrible stuff. So your main job on the call is just to get to a decision, but along the way, it's to understand them and make them feel understood. And this is something that I love that you talk about a lot is, make them feel like they have power, like they're in control.
Mm,
Make them feel like they're being understood and that you empathize with them, you know, not
yeah.
sympathize. You empathize with them, which means like, I see what's going on. I have a solution here. You let me know when you're ready for it, you know? And it's just at the beginning when you're just starting out, it's just about asking questions. Just get really good at asking questions. You can get good at the presentation later. I had one of my people that paid in full halfway through their credit card number. They literally asked me, wait a minute, what am I getting again? I hadn't told them how long the program was, what the deliverables were, how many calls they were going to get. Didn't tell them anything about the deliverables.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of explained the process from a very high level, very vague, and told them the price, and they were ready to go, all because I asked questions in in a very kind of like passionately curious way. Like I just wanted to know where they
Yeah.
were and if we could help them. So just get good at asking questions and get to a decision. That's your only two jobs at the beginning.
I love that you bring that up, this phenomena of where they feel so understood and they trust you. They've literally like transferred all their trust to you that they're like, Mario, what should I do next? And you say, well, take my hand, it's 10 grand. I'll make sure this problem's solved. And only after the
Yeah.
fact do they really dig in. Like, actually, what are even the logistics? I totally forgot to ask. That only happens if they truly feel seen and understood and they can transfer that trust.
Right.
And now that I'm, building sales teams on a regular basis and getting to see newer reps and kind of going through those starting stages, that's a huge point that we drill into. You know, a lot of sales reps are thinking like, I need to educate this consumer on my product perfectly. And so the consumer has all this extra information, but you have
Yeah.
none because you didn't ever sit back and listen. So you have no leverage. They don't feel seen, heard, and understood. And so even if the product or service would be a perfect fit for them, they can't trust it.
Right.
They can't
Yeah.
trust it. Same thing with
Yeah.
assuming stuff. Like if you've been on, this happens to a lot more pros where they've been on so many calls. It's so second nature. They can see the prospect's future before the prospect really even says much. And so they
Right.
assume things. And even
Right.
if they're right, they're not going to close the deal because the prospect hasn't had the opportunity for, for to like speak out. Well, this is all the things, like word vomit on you. These are all the things that are wrong with me. Anything
Yeah.
else? Oh yeah, this thing too. Okay. Do you feel like you've shared everything with me that you think I need to know before giving you proper direction? Yeah, I told you the whole story. Okay, cool. Well, based on that, I have a prescription for you, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Dude, one of the things that I did very early on that shot me in the foot was when I was in mortgages. My first month in mortgages, my first 6 weeks, I closed 3.6 million in loans,
Whew. All
which
right.
was a million above the second place person in the company on our whole team of like 50
Oh,
at our bank.
nice.
I didn't
Nice.
even know what I was selling. It was my first month, but I had no product knowledge. All I knew is that we could save them money, and I had a calculator that somebody built there where I could plug the numbers in and I could just talk about savings. I didn't understand any of the numbers. I had never owned a house. I didn't know what a mortgage was, but I was hired to do this, and as I got better at the product knowledge, my sales declined month after month because I
Mm.
started exactly what you said. Like I started explaining the product, explaining the process to the details that they don't even care about. And those details are what add doubt because they're like, well, do I even need that? Is that something that I, should even be getting with this? I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, we got to get, we might have to get an appraisal. Like, well, am I going to need to get an appraisal? I wouldn't bring that up at the beginning. I didn't know what an appraisal was. But then I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh, we'll send an appraiser out to your house, a home inspector, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, look how much I know about mortgages. You can trust me. I'm an expert. And at the
Mm.
end of the day, they're like, you're just like every other mortgage banker out there. I could just go to anybody. I can shop around
Mm-hmm.
because you don't even care why I'm trying to do this. At the beginning, I was like, I came from bankruptcy consultations. So all I did was financial analysis of their budget because that's what I
Mm.
knew. So I'm like, let's look at your bills. Let's look at what you got going on, how much we can save you, which of these bills we could eliminate by reducing your payment by a few $100 a month, and they'd be like, oh my God, this is amazing, you
Mm.
know? So
Yeah, it speaks volumes to not overcomplicating. Like most of people's think about it objections that they get are your fault.
yeah, 100% your fault.
Your fault, plain and simple.
That's it. The person who didn't know anything about the deliverables that we had didn't say I have to think about it because I didn't give them anything to think about. I
Yeah.
told them the result they were going to get and a vague idea of what our process was, and they've crushed it since then. They've been doing
Yeah.
30, 40K months since we started. And
That's awesome.
yeah,
That's the best thing, right? Is like the closing of the sale. Yay, new opportunity, but that's just the ticket into the door. My favorite
right.
thing is seeing the people that I sold in a couple months ago making bank. I love
Yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely awesome.
So Mario, I want to know, and please feel free to brag. What is your unfair advantage when it comes to sales?
My unfair advantage?
Yeah. Who do you think sets you apart? There's a lot of good sales reps and entrepreneurs out there. Absolutely. But what
So
sets you apart? What's your unfair advantage?
I was a very introverted kid until about senior year in high school.
Hmm.
I did 8 years of social work. I had to work with a social worker for 8 years when I was in school. I had suffered from deep depression. I suffered from like chronic. I was literally diagnosed chronic depressive. Um,
I had no
I,
idea.
yeah, you're right. Nobody would know that. But I like going through that has allowed me to keep a level of like, I guess, calm that a lot of other people don't really experience all that much because I know what the lowest of lows feels like.
Mm-hmm.
I know what that's like. And that has allowed me to become a lot better at connecting with people very quickly. Like you and I
Mm-hmm.
became friends very quick. I usually
Yeah.
become friends with people very quick. And it's just from that like understanding of like, I know how bad things can get, and I'm here with you when it gets that bad, you know?
Well, I'd be willing to put money on this guess too, that, as a result of having had nothing at some point, you're a lot less attached to the sale than someone who, is scared of losing it all. Right.
Right. Like we had my best month was like 140K collected. That was like last year, that for my own offer.
Yeah.
And I didn't buy anything new. I didn't do anything with it. Like my life didn't change all that much because money never really mattered all that much.
You put it all on Bitcoin?
No. I wish. My God, I
Same.
wish.
I know.
But yeah, it's just it's having gone through that past, I've learned to embrace it and use it as something that I can connect with others on. And it helps me with my content too, knowing how to communicate at that level. I think that's my unfair advantage, dude, is really having that understanding of like life can get dark sometimes, but you don't have to live there. So with these people, when it's like when business is bad and things are struggling, I can talk to them about like, how do you feel about that? What's that like? And when I ask those questions, like, what's the cost if nothing changes, which is something that you teach, it comes from a genuine place. It's not a strategic thing.
Yeah. You can actually be authentic in that conversation. You've experienced it. You don't want them to have to experience it, but you could be there with them through it, even if they are, and prove that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, not life at the end of the tunnel too.
Life at the end of the tunnel too. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I think that's my unfair advantage.
That's a good question. I need to start asking that question on all the future Confessions of a Closer episodes, because
that's a good one, dude.
Yeah, I'll share mine. And it's kind of funny because, two things. One, very similarly to you, like I've had so little that I've had a week of my life where I just had to make a choice and chose not to pay the power bill because it was that or buy some food. And so I literally, with tea light candles and a completely spoiled fridge full of old food, just kept on going to work. No one would have ever known. I didn't even tell anybody about that for I think it was a year. So, I've been where I had nothing and was really struggling. So the fact that I'm okay and that, just like you, survived 100% of our worst days, I know that no matter what happens, I'll be fine. And so I could be very unattached. And number two, I'm like, should I even share this on YouTube? Is the YouTube algorithm going to kill us now?
You can edit it out.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'll share this with you as soon as you go down and smash the like button, because we got to help out the YouTube algorithm, because I'm probably going to shoot myself in the foot with this one. But I think one of my unfair advantages, man, came from a time when I was in a pretty depressive state, and I took a lot of mushrooms. And to make a long story short, I feel genuinely like I experienced my entire life and died. Straight up. But going in the direction of living through my limitations like I had up to that point. Like very egotistical, materialistic, like angry, the world's out to get me. I'm a victim, like fuck everyone else for, putting me in this, bad situation, not owning my stuff. And I got to see basically a whole movie of my life playing out. And then I died.
Yeah.
And it sounds funny if you've never done something like that, but like it genuinely felt like a real experience. And so because of that, I feel like I almost had a second chance at living life the right way.
Yeah.
And so I can just contrast, hey, as long as I'm not doing that, I'm doing pretty good.
Right.
And that gave me the ability to kind of let down the walls of who I thought I needed to be and just be me. No one to impress. It's just a game to play. And that's something that I think we can finish out this segment with, because you're a gamer and I love video games too. And I kind of view this game of life as just another game, but with real life points, the real life points being dollars, the real life achievements being lives changed. Right. And from that place, being so much less attached to how things have to be and just, hey, I'm playing the game. See how it goes. A lot more abundance falls into my lap. And I'm curious, do you ever think about things that way too?
Yeah. Yeah. That's usually when I succeed the most, is when I gamify what I'm doing, you know, and like make it trackable and measurable and see my progress and all that stuff. It's awesome to take that mindset and apply it to just sales, even just sales, you know?
Yeah. Achievement unlocked. Speaking of achievements, I know it's late to celebrate because it's been, how long has it been now? A year since you became a dad for the first time?
Yeah, a year and 2 months.
Year and 2 months. So, guys, if Mario can be out there changing lives, slanging deals as a dad who's been through the absolute ringer, I hope that this can serve just to inspire you that if you have a passion for communication, if you're curious to learn about people, there is no better profession that you could be in than sales, because not only is the income potential uncapped, but also you can really live life on your own terms. And the more efficient you get, the less input you have to put in for dramatically sweet output. So,
yeah.
Part of the reason that I want to do this interview series is just so people can see, like, producers like us, we're not anything really special. We're just other humans who walked through the door first, have a good skill set, and actually care to learn about people. So last thing, what do you want to leave the peeps with watching today?
I almost want to say go do shrooms, but because I've done it too. But
I don't know that we can recommend that.
We can't. No, don't do that. Don't do that. Yeah, don't. This is for entertainment purposes only.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Right. I mean, just go out there and be authentic, guys. That's really all you can do. That alone is going to help you become the best communicator. And sales is life. You know, you're always selling, and the more authentic you can be, and the better you can be at building connections with people, the farther you'll get. That's it.
Amen. Be you. Find out who that is and do it on purpose. And guarantee you'll be in a league of your own, just like Mr. Mario right here.
And if being you sucks, be somebody else. You know? Be who you wish you were. There's an element
of truth to that, right? Like, figure out the person who deserves your dream life and then set up your own life to then become that person. Don't fake it.
That's it.
But become it. Become the person who deserves the life that you want. We're malleable. We've got neuroplasticity. You can change your brain by just making different commitments and actually sticking to it. Be your word.
Yeah.
Actually, that could be a whole segment in and of itself, like being your word. Oh yeah, neuroplasticity too. We'll have to bring you on, guys. If this video gets 69 likes, because that's the magic number, we'll bring Mario back on here and we'll do an extra long jam sesh. But both he and I have got sales calls to run to because hey, we're still closing deals and changing lives. So I hope you are too, and I hope that you enjoyed this episode of Confessions of a Closer. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe on your way out and share this video with a friend. I appreciate you. And we'll see you in the next one. Mario, thanks for joining me, bro.
See you, bro.
If you liked that video, just wait till you see the next one. And if you haven't already, go right down below me and hit subscribe.